Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be doing my Week 11 lineup review and recap, going over the Week 11 slate and looking at some of my lineups that I played on DraftKings and some of my lineups that I played on Yahoo. It was a great week. We did hit on a lot of good plays in the video on Tuesday. T.Y. Hilton was one of my core receivers along with Kenny Golladay. Both of those guys did really well, had a lot of Andrew Luck, and he did pretty well. Melvin Gordon was someone that kind of disappointed for me. I played Melvin Gordon in most of my lineups over like Barkley and over Elliott. So that was probably one of the big mistakes I made. Also, went back to Dion Lewis. He was my highest owned player. I think I had him in like 65 or 70% of my lineups. Dion Lewis, another disappointing week from him. Might just be time to cut Dion Lewis because, man, that's 2 weeks in a row. The dude's really disappointed me. I think Mariota, I had a lot of exposure to it, or not a lot of exposure, but I had a decent amount of Mariota, did have a little bit of Corey Davis. I was very high on that Colts-Titans game. The Colts side did really well with Luck and T.Y., who I mostly stuck to, but the Titans side, I did have Mariota, had a ton of Dion Lewis, had a little bit of Corey Davis as well. Those guys really disappointed, but still hit on a lot of good plays this week, did have some really good lineups. It was a profitable week, especially on Yahoo. We'll go to Yahoo after we cover these DraftKings lineups. So these first lineups you see here are my 20 max lineups. I believe I cashed 12 out of 20 this week, so that was it was profitable in the 20 max. I'm just going to scroll through my lineups so you can look at some of them. Mostly stuck to my core receivers of Golladay, Hilton. I think I had Golladay at 50% and T.Y. at 55%. My two highest owned receivers, Corey Davis was pretty high owned as well. I played him in a lot of lineups. Quarterbacks, I really spread out my ownership when it came to like Luck, Deshaun Watson, Drew Brees. I think there was another quarterback I had a decent amount. Cam Newton as well. I feel like I really stuck to a tight quarterback. I think I only played like 5 or 6 quarterbacks across like my 170 lineups. Stuck to a really tight core. Mariota was in that core. He was, I think, 8 or 10% exposure to him. Eli Manning did have a little bit of Eli Manning. But these are my 20 max lineups, as you can see. Did have some Lamar Jackson as well. Once we got the news that he was going to start, felt like he was way too cheap, especially with the rushing upside that he brought to the table. So that's how I kind of went at quarterback. At running back, I really tried to pay up as much at this position as I could. So I landed on a lot of Melvin Gordon, Kamara, Barkley in some of my lineups. Had some David Johnson, a little bit of Fournette. Really didn't play a ton of Ezekiel Elliott, really at all. I just thought Melvin Gordon and Saquon Barkley were better plays than Elliott. Barkley was the better play. Elliott definitely outscored Melvin Gordon, though. So I guess that was a big mistake, not having a ton of Elliott, at least on DraftKings. Played him in almost every lineup on Yahoo because he was just way too cheap. We'll talk about that in a second. At receiver, like I said, stuck to the tight core of T.Y. and Kenny Golladay. Played them in a ton of lineups. Had a little bit of Corey Davis as well. As you can see here, I had a flyer of like Christian Kirk. He was just a few percentage. He was just in a few percentage of my lineups, not a ton. It's mostly T.Y. and Golladay, though, that you see in a lot of my lineups, or at least my 20 max lineups. Some Corey Davis I did have exposure to. A little bit of Amari Cooper. When I could pay up, mostly went to Michael Thomas and Odell Beckham. Those were kind of the two receivers I stuck to if I could pay up. Didn't have a ton of Julio Jones. So yeah, I think that's probably it for receiver. At tight end, really tried to go cheap at this position. As you can see at my tight ends, most of my lineups I had either Jared Cook, Jordan Reed, or Ricky Seals-Jones. Those were kind of the guys I stuck to this week. I did play a lot of double tight end lineups just because I was kind of needing the value, and I did like some of the tight ends that were cheap. Jordan Reed did really well. Jared Cook was okay. Ricky Seals-Jones, Zach Ertz, definitely disappointments at tight end. Those guys, not as great. Had a little bit of Evan Ingram, but I believe my highest on tight end was Jordan Reed. Right behind him was Jared Cook, and then Ricky Seals-Jones. Those were kind of the 3 core guys I stuck to at tight end. And then defense, really just spread out my ownership, just played a ton of different defenses. I think my highest on defense wound up being the Giants, but had the Giants, I had the Cardinals, had some Jaguars lineups, especially with how cheap the Jaguars were. Getting Big Ben on the road. I thought the Jaguars were in a good spot at $2,400. I believe that's what their price was. Same with the Giants. Giants were getting to face Fitzpatrick at home, who we've seen so far this year is hit or miss. You just never know what you're going to get from Fitzpatrick. We got a bad game from him this week, so the Giants' defense wound up being a good play with how cheap they were. I believe my best lineup, I pretty much covered all the 20 max lineups. think my best lineup this week was one of the lineups I put in the 150 and the mini max. If I can find it, it was like a 215, I believe, was the highest score. Had a 202 right there. Let's see. I was scrolling through these lineups last night, and I did come across it. I just wanted to see like some of the lineups that did the best. So let's see if I can find it. There's a 205. That's when Cam, Barkley, Lewis, Galladay, Hilton, Kurt, Reed, David Johnson, Giants D. There's a 213 right there. Cam, Dion Lewis, McCaffrey, Galladay, T.Y., Traquan Smith, Cook, Barkley, Giants D. Okay, I just scrolled through all my lineups and I didn't see that 215. So maybe that was my best lineup. That 213, that was one of my better lineups. I did have some really bad lineups though. I think I had a couple lineups that didn't even clip 100 points. But it was still a good week. I profited pretty well, especially in like 20 max and in the mini max. Pulled out a pretty decent profit on DraftKings. On Yahoo, we'll go over to now. This is where I like really did well. Just hit on a lot of good plays. Stuck to a pretty tight core on Yahoo, and that core did really well. Zeke was in that core. Played him in almost every lineup on Yahoo. He was just way too cheap in my opinion. I think he was $25, just way too cheap. He was 64% owned, so a lot of people were on him, including myself. Great play. Corey Davis, another guy I stuck to. I played in a decent amount of Yahoo lineups. He was way too cheap in my opinion. Juju Smith-Schuster was pretty cheap. David Johnson was the same price as Elliott, or like $1 more expensive. You can see he was 54% owned. So like David Johnson, Zeke, I stuck to in a ton of lineups just with the price tags. But this lineup went with Breeze to Michael Thomas. Had Zeke and David Johnson, Theo Riddick as sort of a cheaper running back. Did like him. Thought he was going to get some receiver role with how thin the Lions were at receiver. I believe they did play Riddick in the slot a few games back. And he did get 7 targets, 5 catches, 30 yards. Wasn't a great game, but I thought he was going to do a little bit better than that. I did have Riddick in decent amount of DraftKings lineups as well. But Jared Cook was my tight end. Chargers D played in a ton of lineups on Yahoo. They were like close to minimum price for a defense. They were $12. The minimum's $10. So they were 39% owned. Thought the Chargers D was probably the best play at defense on Yahoo. So I had them in a lot of lineups. That was not one of my better lineups. This one did cash, 143. Had Cam, McCaffrey, Zeke, Kenny Galladay, Corey Davis, T.Y., Ricky Seals-Jones, David Johnson, Chargers D. This lineup just barely fell short of cashing with Mariota getting hurt. Mariota and Davis were big disappointments in this lineup. But then had Zeke, Fournette, Mike Evans, Juju Smith-Schuster, Cook, Melvin Gordon, Lions D. This lineup, not so great, did not cash. This one was a Watson to Hopkins stack with Zeke, Dion Lewis, Corey Davis, T.Y., Reed, Johnson, and Chargers D. I believe I played T.Y. in almost every lineup. I think I played him in 9 out of 10 lineups on Yahoo. Love T.Y. this week, just across the board. This lineup did cash. Pretty decent lineup. 163 had Mariota getting hurt and Corey Davis. 2 pretty disappointing plays. Still put up 163 though. This lineup had Zeke and Barkley at running back. T.Y., Mike Evans, Jordan Reed, DJ in the flex, Chargers D. This lineup was my best lineup. This one placed 16th in the big 85K baller. And one of the things that really tilts me is I played Melvin Gordon in this lineup. Him and Saquon Barkley were the same price on Yahoo. And if I would have played Barkley over Melvin Gordon in this lineup, I would have placed second. Because I already did the math. I'll just compare this guy's lineup. So Melvin Gordon, as you can see, $38. Barkley was $38. Barkley outscored Gordon by 15.6 points. So I did the math, add 15.6 to how much I have now. If I would have played Barkley, that would have put me at 200.7, which would have put me in second place for 10K. Pretty tilting. That was one of the things I was really mad about. Playing Gordon over Barkley in this lineup cost me a ton of money, but still placed pretty nicely, 16th out of 9,474. Took on $125 in this out of this contest. Did play this lineup in some other contests as well. This was definitely one of my better lineups. Lamar Jackson at quarterback with Zeke, Melvin Gordon, Galladay, T.Y., Mike Evans, Jordan Reed, Kamara, and Lions D. Next lineup did really well as well, placed 73rd. Lamar Jackson, Zeke, Melvin Gordon, Galladay, T.Y., Mike Evans, Jared Cook, DJ, and Ravens D. This lineup, 202nd, another pretty decent one. Andrew Luck to T.Y. with Zeke, Dion Lewis, Corey Davis, Mike Evans, Jordan Reed, Melvin Gordon, and Jacksonville Jaguars defense. And then my last two lineups, this one I believe like min cashed 143, Lamar Jackson, Zeke, Melvin Gordon, Corey Davis, T.Y., Smith-Schuster, Jared Cook, Kamara, and Chargers D. As you can see, Chargers D in almost every lineup for me on Yahoo. And then my last lineup, another pretty good one, 117th place, 168 points, Lamar Jackson, Zeke, Barkley, Corey Davis, T.Y., Keenan Allen, Jordan Reed, David Johnson, and Chargers D. So those were my Yahoo lineups for this week. If you guys do want to get on Yahoo, my referral link is down in the description. I have a ton of people signing up with my link. I really do appreciate it. I've been getting the emails that you guys have been using my link. So I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the site. If you ever want to play me, my username's GoToDFS. You can just type it in the search bar. Like whenever you go to join a contest, I believe you can invite players. So you can always invite me. Feel free to join your contest. Same on DraftKings, same username and everything. But now let's look at this showdown slate. We do have a game between the Rams and the Chiefs. This is going to be a great game for fantasy. A lot of good plays in this game. So we'll start off with Todd Gurley, most expensive player on this showdown slate. He's 11-8 if you play him in your flex. If you play in your captain, he is 17-7. Gurley's definitely a guy we're probably going to want to pay up for. We're going to need value. It's going to be hard to find, get Gurley in your captain without finding a ton of value. And in this game, there isn't a ton of value that I love. My favorite cheap plays are probably Josh Reynolds at 4,800. I expect him to have a decent role now that Cooper Kupp is out. And also Chris Conley, I expect to have a decent role since Sammy Watkins is most likely not going to play. Chris Conley's not the most exciting guy to roster, but he's only 1,200. Allows you to do a lot. So let's sort of see how we can construct a lineup. Let's try and construct a lineup with Gurley in our captain spot. I think Gurley's going to be a guy we probably want in almost every lineup, if not every single lineup, because dude just has a massive floor, massive ceiling. He's probably going to be the highest scoring fantasy option in this game. And it makes sense to play him in your captain, but you obviously don't have to do that. You could go cheap at captain, then play a lot of the studs in your flexes. But let's go ahead and plug in those two values that I like, Chris Conley and Josh Reynolds. If we went with them two in our flex spots, that would get us up to 8,766 remaining per player. You could probably get Kareem Hunt easily. You could get Jared Goff easily. And then you could probably play Brandon Cooks if you wanted to do that. If you wanted to get up to one of the other studs, maybe Mahomes. And if you wanted to pair him with Tyreek, that'd leave you 5,100. Probably won't want to do that. But you could play Mahomes and then play Goff too. That'd leave you 5,500. Probably we'd be leaving a lot of salary on the table. You could maybe play the kicker and then replace Conley or replace Josh Reynolds. Let's see if we went down from Goff and went to Kareem Hunt. Then that would get you up to 6,300, kind of in no man's land again. Let's go down to Robert Woods. That leave you 7,100. We'd be just short of Travis Kelce. If we went to Brandon Cooks, that'd leave us $100 short of Kelce. I think that would probably be my favorite lineup to play, but it's $100 short. Really, really annoying right there. We honestly could probably get that lineup if we went with Mahomes as our captain, so let's do that. Mahomes, then Gurley. I believe I had Goff, or no, yeah, let's go with the two values so I can figure out who I had. Can't even remember. Conley, Josh Reynolds. I think we had Goff, and then, no, we did not have Goff. We had Kelce. Yeah, Kelce, and then Cooks or Woods you could play, whichever you prefer. So you could go to Cooks. I really like that lineup there. You got Mahomes in your captain, who's a high upside play, still have exposure to Gurley. Got two value plays in Chris Conley and Josh Reynolds, who I think can be good values. Then you have high upside plays that are probably too cheap, Travis Kelce and Brandon Cooks. And if you wanted to, you could take out Cooks and play Robert Woods if you feel better about Robert Woods. I usually always prefer Cooks. I feel like Cooks has more upside, but both guys are definitely going to get the targets, going to get the volume, so both of them make for great plays. Really like doing that lineup. If you want to go cheap at captain, I think playing maybe like Travis Kelce or Cooks, one of these guys in your captain. Don't think I would go to Josh Reynolds or Conley as your captain. Maybe Reynolds, but that's probably the cheapest I would go at captain. But let's try it with Kelce. If we played Kelce in our captain, we could definitely get Gurley and Mahomes. Go to the two value plays I like, Conley and Josh Reynolds. If you plug them in, they'll leave you 9,900. So then you could play Jared Goff. So playing Kelce in your captain pretty much allows you to go up from like Robert Woods or Brandon Cooks up to Jared Goff. So if you want to do that, really like that lineup as well. You got guys that are going to be on the field, Conley's going to be on the field even if he doesn't get a ton of targets. He's still going to be on the field, could possibly catch you a touchdown. Same with Josh Reynolds. Conley and Reynolds are both going to be the number 3 receivers, so they'll get a few targets. If they find the end zone, could be looking at a really nice day. So definitely like this lineup as well. Pretty much going to be on Conley and Reynolds as my value plays. And then when it comes to the studs, Gurley's the number 1 priority for me, but I do like Mahomes second. Then I'd probably go down to like Travis Kelce. Really like him at 7,400 in your flex. He feels a little bit underpriced. Kind of Kareem Hunt kind of feels underpriced as well, especially with how well he's been playing. So that's sort of my quick analysis of this showdown slate. Didn't want to spend too much time on this because the video's already pretty long. So hopefully you guys did enjoy the review and the recap, and hopefully you enjoyed this quick analysis of the showdown slate. If you did enjoy, make sure you click that like button before you get out of here. I would really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. If you do have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or you can leave a comment down below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, good luck tonight. Really appreciate you watching the video, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.